Welcome to Awakening Mindfulness at Work, a conversation that matters. I'm Pierre
And I'm Sarah Killeen. We are bringing to you conversations and practices to cultivate presence, calm, and balance in the workplace.
So let's begin right here, right now.
Hello, Sarah, and welcome everyone. Before we start this episode, I'm gonna invite everyone to relax your face. If you're in a position where you can close your eyes for a few moments, great. If not, you can still do this with eyes open, like if you're driving. And just bring your attention to your face and just relax the muscles, the jaws, the lips, the eyes, the forehead. Discover what your resting face feels like. So no need to smile, no need to frown, no need to have an attitude. Our faces display our attitude. Just being here, content, unconditionally surrendering and relaxing the face. Just a few more moments. Okay, with this, I'm gonna invite Sarah to get us going.
Wonderful. Thanks, Pierre. So today, the topic I'd like us to reflect on is related to mindfulness of thoughts. And now I know it's a topic that it can be blended with any topic really, because we're always thinking, right? But I want to take add a little twist to this topic, and which is the importance of choosing where we place our attention. So you might have heard, the traditional saying of the mind takes the shape of what it rests upon. So whatever you frequently think about, that will become the inclination of your mind, right? So if it's really positive, if it's filled with beauty and kindness, then that will become the inclination of your mind. And if it's a little bit less joyful and very negative, that will also become the inclination of the mind. So I'd like to speak about that a little bit from a mindfulness perspective, also from science, what the science says about that, and then what we can do when we are thinking positive thoughts and we are in very positive states, what can we do to absorb it so it really nourishes us and we're really getting all the value we can out of it. And what can we do when we are feeling ourselves sometimes maybe stuck in states and thought patterns that are not serving us? So how do we move from that? So that's the topic I'd like to speak about today. What do you
Wow,
think, Pierre?
I love that
Should we?
topic. I love that topic. Yeah.
Cool. So maybe I'll say a few things, and then I'll invite you to say some more. But maybe I'll start with the science part actually, because it was fascinating for me to read about that part, which is called neuroplasticity, experience-dependent neuroplasticity. And Rick Hanson, who's a wonderful psychologist and author, writes a lot about that. And basically, science says that the brain takes the shape of whatever the mind rests upon. So it's not just that, the mind, you start thinking more and more about what you're already thinking about. It's just that actually the brain, physically speaking, biologically speaking, the brain starts taking shape of those thought patterns. So,
Mhm.
if very often we're being really hard on ourselves, we have very negative thoughts, we're criticizing, we're blaming, we're judging ourselves or others, our brain will gradually take that shape of a bad mood, getting upset more easily, getting angry more easily, and that will depress our nervous system as well. And on the other side, if very often we have our mind and our thoughts on wholesome qualities of the mind and the hearts, for example, seeing the beauty around, being grateful. So gratitude, beauty, joy, looking around what can bring us some joy. Maybe it's dogs, running around the place, or kids laughing, or seeing the nature that's blooming, the flowers that are in bloom. And gradually our brain will go there, right? So the brain will take the shape of a better mood, of more resilience, of more joyful, joy, of having this sense of I have resources inside of me. And life is easier, and the world is a better place. It's a good place. That's what the brain will take the shape of. So yeah, so I think that's what I want to talk about today with you, is how can we foster that positive mood with our thoughts. And yeah, when we have positive thoughts, how can we absorb them? How can we turn them into a pattern? And when we have more negative thoughts, how can we move from them? How can we transform them and still acknowledge them, not getting rid of them, but slowly, transform them into thoughts that will serve us better. What are your first thoughts?
Yeah. Yeah, such a deep topic. I really appreciate this focusing on that aspect of thoughts. Um, yeah, several things came to mind. I was thinking, Sarah, like how can we orient our mind towards the more positive, healthy, realistic thoughts as opposed to getting caught into the negative chatter? And what came to my mind, one thing came to my mind is taking actions that can help us go in that direction. Because we have a lot less control over our thoughts. We have much more control over our actions. So and I'll give a few examples from what came to mind too. If I read a book about mindfulness, that's an action I can take, and that's likely to plant the seed for all kinds of interesting and reflective and mindful thoughts. If I join a book club and interact with people who are trying to enhance their ability to get informed about a certain important topic, this is an action I can take, and it can help orient my mind towards those thoughts. If I, join a meditation group and then the conversations are like our conversation today, I'm orienting my mind towards those thoughts. So yeah, this is where I went with that. Like, what can we do to go in that direction, because we don't have direct control of our thoughts.
I love this. Two things here. I want to add two things. The first one is the image that came up for me when you were saying this was the image of a garden where you're planting seeds and then you're watering the seeds, and you're basically nurturing some vegetables. So if you only water the carrots. Now, I'm not a gardener, but if you only water the carrots and you basically ignore the tomatoes for a few months, which ones will look better and will be bigger and will really start, taking more space in the garden? The ones that you have watered. So I really like what you say, because it's this action of I'm choosing which seeds I'm watering. I'm choosing what I'm growing in my garden, kind of. So I really like that. And at the same, and I also
Yeah,
want to challenge you a little bit, but I know where you're coming from, but I do, and it's something we say in our classes. I think we don't have control over the thoughts that are coming up, right? Like you're saying, we don't have control. And we do have control over which are the thoughts that we're just noticing and then we're letting them go, and which are the thoughts that we're
yeah,
actively investing into. Because
yeah,
that's the beauty of being aware, being a human being, is that we have this awareness. We can notice our thoughts, and then we can choose, okay, is that a thought that I want to keep thinking? Is that a thought that I want to really invest into? Or is that a thought that I'm just gonna leave alone now? And
yeah,
because investing into thoughts can either turn life into a hell or heaven, you know
yeah.
um
That's exactly what sometimes we refer to as like switching channels. I realize a thought comes up, and we don't have, there's nowhere it's written or it's dictated that we have to go along with the thoughts and we have to give them all the attention. So a thought comes up and it's okay, it's just a thought, and then I can decide where to go with it. However, what came to mind here is this ability to notice thoughts. This is not something that just easily happen. Thoughts can happen so quickly and they go unnoticed, but we feel the effect and we act like impulses. We act upon them without even knowing what they are. So it's back to the mindfulness meditation practices. This is a practice that trains our mind to start to be able to notice thoughts and be able to notice them sooner than later. And as we get better and better at it, notice them when they come up. So yeah, it's not something for like, oh yeah, I'll notice my thoughts. It's
Mm.
training. It's training.
Yeah, and it's I don't know if I mentioned that in another episode now. We've done so many times, I'm not sure. But mindful cognitive behavioral therapy actually does exactly that, and we'll put something in the notes. But using mindfulness to name the thoughts that are coming up and then making a choice. Do I feed that thought, or do I put my attention somewhere else? So that becomes my
Mhm,
reality. Um,
mhm,
and especially in the workplace, if I'm thinking about the workplace, I'd say maybe thoughts that some people struggle with, um, anxiety, a lot of anxiety, being overwhelmed, a lot of anxiety. If we have anxious thoughts, very often what do? We worry. So we add the worry to the anxious thought, and then it just makes it worse. And it's just basically growing and growing and growing and growing, and then we have a full-blown panic attack at some point. So there, how can mindfulness help? Like you were saying, noticing, oh, anxiety, anxious thoughts. And then there's a whole different things we can do about that, from disputing, from, being more rational about the thoughts to all at the same time being mindful and, caring for the thought. I mean, I know it's
mhm,
it's a topic you really love. So you can say a little bit more about that. But I'd say in the workplace, it's yeah, it's critical to build up those skills to be able to distinguish which thoughts we want to stay with and which thoughts we want to discard.
mhm.
Not discard.
Yeah.
Discarding is not a right word. You know what I mean? Not
Yeah.
investing more effort into it. Yeah.
Yeah, switch channels.
Switch,
Switch
switch,
channels.
switch channels.
Yeah,
Yeah.
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 So yeah, I think what you just mentioned, one way to put it is, um, thoughts come up, and what we want to do is not judge the thought, just almost accept. We say sometimes allow, we say sometimes bow. So just realize the thought is there and allow it, bow to it, and then switch channels. So instead of going into judging the thought or judging ourselves about having this thought and spiraling, like you described, Sarah, like I have anxiety, oh, I shouldn't have anxiety. And then, so we're judging the thought, we're judging ourselves, and that spirals. So if I have anxiety, anxious type thoughts, okay, I'm gonna give them some space. Right now, it seems like the world has unfolded in a way where those thoughts showed up for all kinds of reasons, and I'm just gonna respect them for now, and I don't need to keep going deeper into them. I'm gonna switch channel to what is needed right now. How can I contribute right now? Yeah.
Yeah, and also being kind to ourselves when we're not able to do that, because if it's a channel we've been listening to for the last 20 years, it's very difficult to switch to a new one. And that's when we really need that
Mm,
that quality
mm,
of kindness. So still trying, really trying to change
mm.
the channel. And if it doesn't happen just like that, then also being noticing and being okay with it. um and
Yeah.
So that's about, the thoughts that we want to not to invest into. I think it's also really nice to talk about the thoughts that are creating the kind of world we want and the kind of life we want to have, right? Those thoughts that um, are just wonderfully caring and positive and optimistic and loving and patient. When we are having those thoughts, and not just the thought, because obviously thoughts are also, you know then we're feeling them in the body. There's this felt sensation of thought and an experience. How can we turn these into a state? How can we turn these into something we are at the end of the day? The more, I know you have something to say about that. You have a nice little diagram as well. Talk about, okay, it starts with one thought, and at some point maybe it's become who you are.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. No, I'm just enjoying the different aspects we've kind of added to that, but would love to hear you any comment you want to leave our listeners with, Sarah, in terms of the topic and then a key takeaway from this.
Hmm. Oh yeah, you're the timekeeper. Yeah, no, just what we attend to. And I love this verb to attend to. So the attention is not just something that happens by itself. It can also be a verb. Where we choose to place our attention, what we attend to. That's very important, I think, to think about it as an action,
Yeah.
as something we can do, really matters, because it does create a reality. So what we attend to becomes our reality. We are the weavers of our reality. I'd say
Mm,
that'd be something that I'd leave people to
wonderful.
reflect on for this
Yeah,
episode.
yeah, yeah. Thank you. Yeah, there's not more that can be said with this nice takeaway that you shared. So thank you, everyone, and we see you at the next episode. Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you, Pierre.